You're listening to the HNC Let's Talk podcast, hosted by Dexter Brooks. Thanks for tuning in to HNC Let's Talk podcast. We partner with subject matter experts to provide candid conversations on health and lifestyle. Here at HNC Let's Talk podcast, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and health are all connected. This episode of HNC Let's Talk podcast is sponsored by HealthNet Co. Together, we make insurance simple.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dexter Brooks. I'm your host today with HNC Let's Talk podcast, and I do have my co-host with us today, which is Demetrius Radin Johnson. How you doing, Demetrius?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm just kind of recovering from that debate last night. So, but mostly good.
So before we get there, I posted on Facebook today, prepping for the next episode: politics, healthcare, unemployment, Black Lives Matters, Proud Boys, and racism. Those were my hashtags because of that debate last night. And as we were chatting earlier, like you said, it was a complete chaos. I mean, I give Joe his due points with biting his tongue as hard as he had to do it, because that's what anybody would do. Because when someone comes after your family that way, and I'm more than certain that's exactly what Trump's intent was, to hit below the belt, so that you can get a response out of someone. But he did. He held his ground very well. I was impressed. But it was just no information within the debate whatsoever.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt.
Actually, it was.
There was information to be heard. When it comes to that debate specifically, I found it to be pretty chaotic. I thought that the mediator really didn't do a great job of mediating the debate. But I saw what I expected to see to a large degree, and that was.
Did you really expect to see that? I mean, I was here, and I was here in the studio. I had my colleague, a friend of mine. He's and I'll have to give him a shout out because he does Blessings General Services. He was nice enough to come into the office and install our sign and install the television on the wall, and I give him kudos. The guy was good, man. He was like, so I'm gonna have to give him some credit here. So if you're in Colorado and you're looking for someone who is a general contractor, it's Blessings General Services. The guy was very impressive. So I want to say thank you.
Nice. He did a good job.
He did a good job. Because like I say, your office is not complete until your sign is up.
Right, exactly.
Once you get that sign up, you get that feeling, like, yeah, I'm just about done. I'm done. But it's also the flat screen TV had to be put up. So, but that's what I can tell you about that. Was okay. But I can't believe you saying that you expected that. How is it that you?
Well, I expect that anytime that our current president is put into a situation where he has to defend himself, or he feels like, somebody's coming at him one way or the other, that he's going to raise his voice, he's going to interrupt, he's going to take over another person's time. He, regardless of the format, he wants to make sure that he has the final word. If there's a 2-minute format where it's like, I'm supposed to speak and then you're supposed to speak, it's not like you get to come back and say something against what I said. The format was, pretty cut and dry. And, there was a number of times where, he just didn't play by the rules. And so, I feel like, someone who is not going to play by the rules in their personal and business life is also probably not going to play by the rules in their political life or in a debate like that. And to that extent, that's, was really what I expected to see. One of the things that I didn't expect to see was, I thought that maybe Biden could have come with a little bit more firepower. I think that, there was a lot of room for, some accountability, hold our president's feet to the fire. I used to be on the debate team back in the day in school, and you have to come up with a plan of how you're gonna, rebut some questions that are gonna come up, and have a rebuttal for certain topics that people are gonna bring out. I didn't
Yeah,
really
but the
think.
thing was, you couldn't get a he didn't want you to get a word in edgewise. If Biden would have came back with a rebuttal, Trump would have jumped in before he could even get the rebuttal complete.
Well, that's what I
And
thought.
that was his complete strategy.
Yeah.
Like I said, one of the things that I got out of the whole podcast, and out of the whole debate, was the fact that Trump showed his true self.
Yeah. Yeah.
He actually showed it. He showed his true self, and I'm gonna tell people this: if you don't think that was someone who is racist, you're blind.
Yes.
You're absolutely blind. Because he stood there and he said the things that he meant to say. And every time he says something, they come back the next day and they go, he didn't mean that. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. No, you meant what you said.
Exactly. When he told those organizations, what was it, the Proud Boys or whoever, he said something to the effect that really caught my ear. Was he was saying, telling them to stand down, but he also kind of said
Stand by.
And I'm like, well, what do you stand by for what? Like, what do you mean stand by? And whether he meant to say that or he didn't mean to say it, he said it. And so at one point or another, you have to be accountable for the things that you say. You can't just say something and then find out that it was an unpopular thing to say and then say, oh, I didn't mean to say that. That's not.
Oh, yeah. That was the thing. And that's what's been going on for the last 3.5 years, almost 4 years. Every time he puts his foot in his mouth, somebody on the party comes back and says, well, he didn't mean to say that. That's not what he said. That's not what he meant. That's not what he meant. No, you can't continue to come back and say this is not what a person meant when he's done this over and over and over. And it's the same thing completely. And like I was watching the news earlier today, and what's her name on CNN? Yeah, people, I'm talking about CNN because I do like it. Okay, you don't like that, I'm sorry. But I grew up in the South and I like CNN. So one of the cast on CNN, I know the first name is Brooke, but I can't think of her last name. And she had this guy on there. His name was TW something. What was his name? Come on, think about it. I got his name. TW Shannon.
Okay.
He was on her show. And yes, he was defending everything that Trump said. And he kept on saying over and over again, no, that's not what he said. What he said was stand down. And well, how did he put it? He told him to stand down and just stop. I'm like, dude, no. And then he comes telling Brooke, no. He goes, I'm insulted as a black man. I tweeted him really quick. I said, here's the deal, dude. You're insulting me. I'm probably 30 years your senior, and I know racism when I see it.
Right.
And you're not going to tell me Trump doesn't have a racist bone in his body, because it's more in his body now than it ever was. And then for Trump Jr. to come out last night and go, well, that's the way he is. He was defending himself because everybody's always attacking him. No. He was not being attacked.
He was not being attacked at all. And I feel like, when his own words are used against him, he feels like he is being attacked. And it's like, no, you actually said those things. And, and it comes back to, say what you mean and mean what you say. And that's what he has to do. You can't be flip-flopping like that all the time. And I think Trump is the way that he's always been. It's just a matter of now that there's been light shed on it, and they always talk about, everything that's done in the dark, will be brought to light. And with nowadays with TV and media and that, you can go back and review the tapes and watch and see what someone says. Back in the
Right, and
day.
that's the point. That's the funny thing about it. That's what makes it so funny when everybody on his party comes back and say that's not what he meant. Yeah, it's what he meant. How many times has he said the same thing?
Right, right. And his actions back up what he's saying. When you talk about,
Absolutely.
oh, they were good people on both sides, and there's, a riot, or there's some instance that it revolves around race, and it has to do with, KKK members or the Proud Boys or whoever, the Boogaloos or whoever people want to, you know, you can't just come out and say, well, there's good people on both sides. When there's a racial issue like that, and you can't do that as a president of the United States and just as a human being. You can't. You're perpetuating and you're supporting hate when you say that there's good people on both sides. Could you imagine in the 40s when we're in World War II, and we're fighting the Nazis, and it's like, oh yeah, there's good people on both sides. It's like, you can't do that. And one of the rules for the places that I saw for there to be some opportunity for Joe Biden that I didn't really think that he seized on, was, yeah, denounce these things, but also I want to see Donald Trump denounce the KKK. That I
But see,
really.
here's the thing: they claim that he came. Okay, so Vernon Jones is a senator in Georgia. Okay, he's a black guy who's a Democrat who supports Trump, who claims that everybody's against him because he said Trump supports Trump. I'm against him because you are a Democrat who basically took funding from the Democratic parties and the voters in Georgia to fund your campaigns and re-election so that you can jump ship. But you don't want to give up the seat. You don't want to give up the designation of being a Democrat. I'm like, no, you need to give it up.
Yeah, I think that happens more often than people realize. I think that there are definitely people that will say that they're Democrats, but it's politics. I think that there's people, and maybe this is just the conspiracy brother side of me that just kind of says, hey, maybe there are some Democrats out there that are really Republicans, and they're just there to, cater, and maintain their seat. Because there's certain people in politics that all they care about is staying in office, and they will say and do and serve whoever is going to keep them in a position of authority and power. And
Right,
so,
and the thing about that, I can agree with that, and I can understand it. And the thing is that, but when you get to the point where what a person is doing is completely wrong, and is wrong, but you don't have the balls to say it.
yeah,
That's the biggest issue.
yeah, yeah.
And I voted Republican several times. And I'm like, I would not look at a Republican Party until the Republican Party knew what they were doing. Because right now, it's not a Republican Party, it's a Donald Trump party.
It's a Donald Trump party. It's a weird party. He's created his own, third party. And the Republicans who are in office are some of them are backing him up and some of them are kind of staying away from him, but there's not really anybody who is vehemently like opposing him. There's no one that's stepping up. I think maybe Mitt Romney might be the one of those people that's has shown some backbone and is kind of trying to do the right thing. I wish.
So Romney has shown a little backbone. It was surprising for him, like Ted Cruz, who should be the one who had backbone, because the way Trump insulted his wife,
Right.
was like, dude, this guy insulted your wife,
Right.
and now you kiss up to him like he's a king.
I don't know if they fear him. I don't know if it's a generational or a cultural thing, or I don't know what it is. But, he implements these strongmen, tactics on people. He wants to instill fear into people. I heard that, he would go around to people in his administration and be like, are you with us? Are you on our team? Are you this? Are you with us? Are you against us? Kind of thing. And, he's trying to create this supporting cast, and he has created a supporting cast that will pretty much ride behind him no matter what he says. And I believe in in all honesty, I believe him when he said that I could go out in the middle of the street and shoot
And
someone
commit,
and
yep,
still be
commit murder, and
innocent,
people would forgive me. Yep,
and people would forgive him. And I
yep.
believe him, and I believe that he believes that. And
Hmm.
regardless of how much he wants to come back and say, oh, I was just joking, or I was, being sarcastic or whatever. There's certain things like Joe Biden called him out on, putting bleach in you to, cure the coronavirus. Oh, I was just joking about that. You know, I think he really meant that. I mean, to some degree. I mean, I think that he believed that one way or the other. He believes some of the stuff he says until somebody proves him wrong, or until it may cause him to look like a fool. And so then he backtracks and backpedals. And so I don't think that's really a good sign, of a leader. When Obama was in office, or when he was, running for office, one of the most impactful things that he said, for me personally was, you know, I always promise to listen, especially when we disagree. And
Hmm.
I think that that's important. I think that it's anybody can listen to somebody who agrees with them all the time. It's more difficult to listen to somebody who disagrees with you. And sometimes it's important to have a supporting cast that will disagree with you and that will challenge you. But that's not the kind of leader that we have in place right now. He
Right,
wants
because
somebody, he wants yes men. He wants
yeah,
people to
he was yes
back
man.
and reinforce what he's saying and what he's thinking.
He's way beyond what is considered as an active listener. He does not listen at all.
No.
Because if he was an active listener, he would have been heard everything that everyone has said for almost 4 years and made some adjustments.
Well, he's a
But see,
self
he hasn't even made any adjustments.
well, he's a self-proclaimed stable genius, and so in his mind, anything that anybody else says, if it's not in accord with what he believes or thinks, it's automatically wrong because he's a genius, right? So he's got to be right at least the majority of the time, if not all the time. So when you have someone like that in power, it can be very dangerous. It can be
Oh
very
yeah,
dangerous.
oh yeah, it is. It is, and the thing about it is like racism is definitely a public health crisis. I don't care if people don't think it is, but it is. It is a public health crisis, and Trump has taken racism to the extreme. He has brought out things that I had not seen since elementary school.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
it's
it's
crazy,
like
man. I mean, I can't, when you talk about making America great again, you have to consider through whose eyes, you know, through what lens, are we talking about greatness? And, while we're a country who wants to be moving forward, in a lot of ways, Trump is wanting us to go backwards.
backwards. That's right. Absolutely. I feel like we have went 10 to 20 years backwards in less than 4 years.
Right. And all the meanwhile, his concern is about the economy. He values the economy more than he values lives lost. We're talking about COVID, over 200,000 people dead. And, we've got this economy that I feel like is just kind of propped up by, scotch tape and hopes and dreams of a lot of,
Hey,
it's
don't say Scotch Taste. Scotch Taste is a great brand, and you just know it's like you're a third party brand,
Yeah,
something else that don't work so well.
I don't do a disservice to Scotch tape. I just didn't want to say because duct tape is a lot stronger than what this house of cards is being held up by, And so I just, no disrespect to Scotch tape. I don't want them, sending me emails and stuff, but it's flimsy. It's when Donald Trump was in office or before he got into office. When they announced that he was going to be president, the market started going up. It was already up, going up from the Obama administration. But then we had this huge, upsurge in the market when Donald got into office, and that's because a lot of people who invest and a lot, they have a lot of money, and a lot of leaders of corporations, they really were speculating that Donald Trump was going to be doing favorable things for those corporations. And so the market kind of went up a bit, and things have leveled out, and COVID has happened, and so things are kind of chaotic in the market. But we're going to see, we're going to be pulling the sheets, off of this bed and seeing what's underneath, when it comes to this economy over the next 4 to 8 to 10 years. We're going to see what's really going on. And, I just kind of hope people are kind of bracing for that a little bit and being a little defensive with their money. But yeah, we'll see how it goes there. I just really want people to, pay attention, look at the writing on the wall, and, as it comes to money, because with me, I'm thinking about money, but I'm also thinking about, the long term. I think we're going to see some interesting things in the market over the next several years. I just,
I mean, that's my thing too, because you have to look at what the effect all this has on everything. And let's just to change it over to healthcare. The idea, and we all know that Trump has stated from day one that he wanted to repeal Obamacare. He wanted to get rid of Obamacare. And what does that mean to everyone? It means and people don't realize what would happen, because yes, before Obamacare, women were basically, there was ratings based on sex, age, demographics. And now with Obamacare, those ratings are no longer there. So that stabilized your premium rates. But now if you eliminate Obamacare and you go back to that same structure again, yeah, women premiums will be higher than men, because they say women healthcare costs more. It costs more to care for a female. It also means that anyone who does not have healthcare at the point in time, if this is repealed and erased instead of replaced, erased, that if you don't have health care in place, then you would be considered as having, we talked about this before, a pre-existing condition, unless you have existing coverage in place.
Right.
So there's a lot of effects behind these things that Trump talked about doing, and the effects will affect a lot of people. And it's not like the people of color, people that are not a color, people that are disabled. Here's another thing that I just found out, and I need to research and find out what's going on, because I have 2 brothers that are veterans, and one of my brother who has, like 7, 8 years ago, he lost his left leg from, they said it was diabetes, so he lost his leg from below the knee. Recently, he lost his foot, his right foot. But when he lost his left leg, he was not billed because he's a vet, because he uses VA benefits. So recently he lost his right foot, and now he's been billed. They're charging him, but he still has VA benefits. So what has changed with VA benefits? Has Trump somewhere under the sheets, in the dark, somewhere along the line, made some changes to VA benefits that vets are now having to pay 80-20 like everyone else?
Right. And then he's probably going to, blame it on, Obama. He's, whatever goes wrong, on the cover, up front, he's saying these are all the things that I'm doing. But then, behind the scenes, he's doing things that are detrimental to people and that are doing a disservice, to our veterans. There's, for a long time, there has been a huge, opportunities or areas, I will call them areas for improvement when it comes to VA healthcare. But Donald Trump by no means is making it better for people. And, like you said, with those pre-existing conditions, those are huge issues that people need to think about. And, as people get older, and as baby boomers get older, their health, this health insurance issue is going to be out of control. if something is not done. And
Right.
we've got to take care of our people. And I think, there's two mindsets that I tend to run across when it comes to healthcare. And some people see it as a business, right? Some people see it as a public service. Some people believe that, that being a citizen of the United States, that, one of the benefits of living here is that your country will take care of you one way or the other in some kind of way, you know. And the best way, the most fundamental way that you can take care of people is to make sure that they're healthy. It helps people stay at work. It helps,
Hmm.
that helps the economy. People don't see the correlation between healthy people and the economy for some reason. They haven't made that connection.
I don't know why. It's like, yeah, you need to make sure people are healthy, because if you're healthy, then yes, you're going to be at work and you're going to be providing, um, you're going to be assisting with the growth of the economy versus taking away from the economy because you're basically receiving disability or something like that, or social security business benefits, but you're basically contributing. You're contributing to society. You're contributing to yourself. So health is a big part. That's what I say. I don't understand. Obamacare may not have been perfect, but in the 10 years that it has been in place, it has gotten a hell of a lot better than what it was. And,
Exactly.
and like I tell people, the next year, this open enrollment that's coming up, you're going to see some big improvements that you hadn't seen in 10 years.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's a lot of that's a lot of light at this tunnel that Obamacare is putting in place. Now, there's some things I don't agree with, and I'm not going to throw those on the table right now, but because I know Joe brought it up last night, it was brought up last night, and that's one of the things I do not agree with, and it may be because I don't completely understand the whole concept, and I will have to throw this out there, public option. I'm not a big fan of that, but you got to prove to me something. You got to give me a reason behind it, and no one has actually given me a reason behind the public option yet. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100%. There were definitely, holes in Obamacare. There were things that could have been done better, but when you have this juxtaposition, when you hold up, you know, what Obama was doing and what Trump is doing, in
I
my
don't know what
observation,
Trump is doing
well, nobody
when it
knows
comes
what
to
Trump.
healthcare.
Nobody
When it
knows what.
comes to healthcare, I haven't seen anything.
Well,
The only thing I know Trump did when it comes to healthcare is that he removed certain things, restriction that Obama had in place, and that was like for short term health plans. And short term health plans are really great, but they're not for everybody.
they're not for everyone.
They're
Well,
they work perfectly for people that are going through in between job situation, but they're not a replacement for healthcare. They're not a replacement for your health insurance.
that's correct. That's absolutely true. You know, I feel like when Obama was in office, he did as much as he could without, he had to have this concern about being impeached, about any little thing that he would do, you know,
As a black man,
as
and
a
I'm going
black.
to throw that out there, period. As a black man, yes, he had to make sure he was watching his back.
If Obama would have done 25% of what Donald Trump is doing in office,
He
he
would
would
be
have
in court.
been impeached.
Yeah,
He not
he would.
only would he
Right
not
now,
have
he would be impeached. Yeah,
not only would he have not gotten a second term, but it is extremely likely that he would have gotten impeached. And while
yeah.
his efforts would have been praised by some communities, you got to live to fight another day. And so he did his 8 years, and I feel like he did what he could do. Given the political landscape at that time and who was in the House and the Senate and what have you. But yeah, they blocked Obama on a lot of stuff. And if he would, they were getting on him for the number of executive orders that he was putting out. And I don't even think that he came up with very many executive orders when you hold it up to, his
Compared
White
to what
House.
Trump has did now. Yeah,
Right. And especially compared to what Trump has done. I mean, he was signing stuff left and right. The first weeks in office, I feel like every day on the news, he had, something that he was executive order that he was signing. And so, there was a little bit of that. So if and when, Democrats get back into office, We have a Democratic president. I feel like kind of like the gloves are off. I mean, I feel like that they should be able to do what they want to do to the same level that Donald Trump has been allowed to do what he's been doing. And
Yeah.
what you're going to see is Republicans crying foul again,
Of
just
course.
like with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, there's a lot of hypocrisy there. When you're talking about the Supreme Court nomination, they say, oh, well, it's in an election year. So we don't want, we think it's unfair for Obama to put somebody in as a Supreme Court justice. But when it comes to Donald Trump, not only is it an election year, but it's within the same week that they're trying, of an election that they're trying to put a Supreme Court justice in there. So again, when we talk about the value of time, it's like, all right, well, in Donald Trump time, a week is worth an Obama year. When you compare it and you say, all right,
a day is worth of Obama year. Trust me, because the much chaos causes a lot. You age from chaos. Period. That's just the reality. Chaos causes aging. That's all it does. It provides you, because it's basically just it's all this stress and unknowns from surprises. But people always said, look how much with Donald, look at everything that he's done, what he's done. No, only thing I know Trump has done is wave the pen and reverse everything that Obama did.
Well, I think,
but he hasn't created anything from scratch. No, nothing. He hasn't created anything from scratch whatsoever.
Well, because he has a general lack of creativity and imagination, in my opinion. But I think that he's not qualified for the job. I think that he has an axe to grind and had an axe to grind with Obama, and he wants to wipe anything that Obama has done of any significance off. I don't even think he really cares about Obamacare. I think what he cares more about is the fact that it's called Obamacare.
Called Obamacare. That's exactly what it is. He wants it to be called Trump Care.
Right.
He wants it to be under his name, period. That's it. No matter what it looks like, it can look exactly the same as it does today, but it needs to be named Trump Care.
Well, right, because Donald Trump is the king of branding, right? And so he's his name isn't even Trump. He changed his family. He changed his name to Trump. I won't get into all that, but he had a different spelling of his name, and Trump sounds a lot more commercial and a lot more marketable, and it sounds like a winning thing. And so, he's all about branding and has a lack of substance, which.
But here's the thing about brands. Every brand at one day has to be put on the shelf and just put in storage, because they do eventually just fade away.
They do fade away. And right now, the Trump name is pretty much in the dirt. I mean, I can't really think, back in the day, and I will admit, I'm here live, and I will admit that back in the day, in the 80s, Donald Trump was somebody to be looked up to for his supposed business acumen. He got so rich, and he had the Taj Mahal, and he did all these things, and as a younger person at that time, I'm like, Trump is the man, even in a lot of like rap songs.
And then see, this is the thing. I never saw it. That's the thing. I never saw it. For me, when I saw Trump, I saw trouble. Even back then, I still saw trouble.
See, and I didn't really.
That's all I saw was trouble. I saw this man that was only caring about himself, and that was way back then. That's all I ever saw. And when he did Apprentice, I watched the show sometime, but to me, it was not even a great show.
Well, yeah. I mean, by the time he got to The Apprentice, I didn't really care for Trump. But like back in the 80s, early 80s, he was on the Oprah Winfrey.
Ted Turner was my guy.
What's that?
Ted Turner.
Oh, yeah. Ted Turner was a big money guy.
That's the one I was looking at, Ted Turner. Ted Turner was totally opposite of Donald Trump.
Ted Turner was the opposite of Donald Trump. Warren Buffett, I feel like, is kind of the opposite of Donald Trump in a lot of ways. just the way that they carry themselves and just the type of person that they are, and I've learned a lot from Warren Buffett, and that, but there's no way that I would recommend somebody study from the school of Trump, um, you know, literally or figuratively. I think Trump University went under and it got sued for fraud or some kind of way, but I would not recommend that people, follow his example. I think he's
Because when I
living
saw Trump, the only thing it reminded me is what was that Will Smith movie? What was it called?
The Pursuit of Happiness.
They pretended that he was rich.
Oh yeah, I think it was it The Pursuit of Happiness?
I think it was because he wasn't wealthy at all, but he dressed the part, he acted the part, and that's who Donald Trump was to me always.
Well, yeah, I mean, but there's a difference between, some people talk about fake it till you make it. There's some people say, dress for the job that you want, not for the job
Dress
that you
for
have.
success, yeah.
And there's some validity to that, but someone like our current president has taken that to the extreme. And I mean, he's taken it to a whole other level that's not even on this planet. And and he's run with it, and it's been successful.
Fake it till you make it, right? And that's what he's doing now. He's faking it so he can make it as a president.
That's what he's doing. He's talking about the
He's
art of
faking
the
it.
deal. Anybody that I personally know, and I know not very many people, but I know 2 or 3 people that have had personal interactions with Donald Trump and can speak to his lack of business acumen and lack of ability to get things done. I think that he has he is kind of the epitome of entitlement in this country. People talk about Karens and this and that, and people being entitled, and what was it? That one guy got off for being, what do they call it? Affluenza. Being so rich that he didn't know what he was doing. There was some kid that got off for some crime. They said, oh, well, he hadn't been exposed to the real world. Donald Trump is kind of the epitome of that I don't know what you want to call it, but it's a phenomenon that is going on in our country where, the rich people are so separated from the middle class and the lower class that they can't relate to them. They have no idea of what's going on. And they have this general belief that because they're wealthy, that they're smarter or better, or that their genes are better some kind of way than everyone else. They feel like they've worked really hard to gain something. When Kylie Jenner was declared a billionaire and they talked about how hard she worked to get there, it's like, well, yeah, I mean,
I know.
And then later on, it came to be found out that no, she's not really a billionaire. It was all, on paper, and it was, kind of fictitious. And so, that's kind of where we are. And
that is exactly where we are. That is exactly where we are.
And it's a shame, and to some extent, I feel like, when we do a self-evaluation of ourselves as America, as a country, and we look at ourselves in the mirror, is that where we're headed? Or is that where we've been? Where is Donald Trump the physical manifestation of entitlement in this country? And, to a large degree, I have to say yes. There's a lot of unqualified people that have been elevated to high levels because of the family that they were born into and the money that they have. And so I don't really think that that's a good way for a country to be run. I think that the president and our government should be an accurate reflection of the population of that country. And what we're looking at right now is a funhouse mirror.
Yeah, we're looking at, like I said, we're looking at the White House, and I'm saying that like White House,
right,
as it was in the 60s and the 70s. That's what we're saying now, the White House. But on that note, I'm going to have to cut it in our podcast because I do have an appointment in 7 minutes.
7 minutes, close.
I know. I'm cutting it close today, but it's okay.
It's okay.
It's all right. So we're gonna pick back up on this on our next episode. And until then, I'll let you have the last word, Demetrius.
Well, I just want, people to realize, on the financial side, our markets can definitely be affected by what's going on in the political landscape, for people to really just be aware of that. We're in chaotic times and, the market is doing some interesting things, but, I think it's important for people to stay the course and make sure that they're taking care of themselves, mentally, spiritually, physically. We're just going through trying times, and we just got to kind of keep our heads up and and plow through this time. And there definitely is light at the end of the tunnel. I encourage people to vote, especially within the Black community. I call on people to kind of invoke their inner civil rights mindset. Think about all the folks that have given their lives and people that have sacrificed in order for us as Black folks to vote, and to go out there and not disappoint our elders and our ancestors. So this is the time that we need to step up. If not now, when? I can't think of a better time than now. If you've never voted before, this is the time to vote.
Absolutely. And just let everybody know, this is the last of the month. So we're jumping into October. So we're heading into open enrollment, which begin November the 1st. So everyone, you do need to make sure you enroll in healthcare. That is a must. And you need to make sure you enroll through the marketplace. If you want to get a subsidy, a tax credit, go through the marketplace. You can actually go through the marketplace at healthcare.gov. You can actually go through healthnetco.com if you want to enroll in the marketplace through the government, or you can enroll through Connect for Health Colorado if you're in the state of Colorado. Certain states do have what they consider as state marketplaces. If you want to reach out to us at HealthNetCo Insurance Agency, our number, the best number to reach us at is what? It's going to be the toll-free number, which is 833-444-4139. Again, that's 833-444-4139. And that's because open enrollment is coming and we need to make sure everybody is going to be covered. And those of you that are looking for life insurance, trust me, we got you covered on that too, because Demetrius Johnson is over there. So don't worry about it.
I got you covered.
Got you covered. All right. Until next time, everyone, today's Wednesday. Have a great rest of your week. And we will talk to you guys soon.